when it comes to these things that come up that soak up our time. And before you know it, the week is over and you didn't get around to strategy. So those things are usually administrative related. There's firefighting. You do them, but they're gone. They do not compound, right?
Welcome to the New Talent Playbook Podcast, your go-to resource for building exceptional teams and thriving businesses. Each episode delivers actionable insights on harnessing offshore talent, integrating innovative technology, cultivating a vibrant company culture, and attracting and retaining top performers. Subscribe now to never miss an episode. For more resources, visit the newtalentplaybookpodcast.com, where you can download this episode's free workbook designed to help you apply today's insight to your business. And now, here's your host, Rob Levin.
Welcome to this solo episode about the New Talent Playbook, and I'm going to jump right in here. I want you to think about your customer list for a second and your prospect list. Some customers are probably having their best year ever. Some are really struggling. Some of them are telling your salespeople that they're going to be buying more, and some of them are telling them, hey, we can't afford this anymore. Everything is moving very rapidly today. I always talk about how the pace of change is always increasing, and what's happening with your customers is a great example. There's no longer, this idea of just one economy. There's a multi-lane economy, and this is affecting your business because, again, some of your customers are doing great, some are not. You're going to find new opportunities that didn't exist a year ago, and you might have to give up on some segments that were performing well just last year. And, you can extend this into things like tariffs. And of course, let's look at another top line item that you probably want to spend some time thinking about. Let's talk about AI. How is that impacting how you work in your company, how you sell, all of these things? And this is the New Talent Playbook podcast. And one of the things that I don't really talk enough about, maybe I talk a little bit about, is you are part of the talent team at your company, right? So if you think about it, what is probably one of your top responsibilities? And perhaps you are the only one in your company doing this. Well, the answer to that is working on the strategy for your business. The days of an annual strategy plan, those days are long gone. Things are changing way too quickly. And a big factor in strategy is how much time are you spending in the strategy of your business? Unfortunately, strategy often loses. What I mean by that is, what are the things that win? These client emergencies, a key person maybe being out for a week unexpectedly. There are all of these things that are fighting for your time, and these things end up taking up a lot more time than you expect. Now, I love this concept of unique ability from Dan Sullivan and Strategic Coach. Your unique ability are those things, the intersection of what are those things that you do uniquely well, that adds tremendous value to your business, and that you enjoy doing. It's the intersection of those three things. And usually strategy is one of those things that adds a tremendous amount to your business and is one of the things that only you can really do in your business. And what Dan says about your unique ability is the target is to spend 80% of your time in your unique ability. Research shows that at best, most business owners are spending 15 to 20% of their time on their unique ability. And what that means is that the business is suffering. And it's something that it just doesn't show up as like an item on your P&L, but it does in that your P&L is going to be a lot worse than it potentially can be, right? Let's talk about, for a second, what am I talking about with strategy? I'm talking about things like really looking into the market, what's going into the market. And I mentioned AI. I got to tell you, just in the past couple of weeks, I've asked AI some questions about the markets that we're focusing on. I got tremendous insights. But whether you're using AI or not for understanding what's going on in the market and how can you capitalize on those things, that's not the point. The point is that strategy is a big part about understanding the market. In your business, it could be you might be the one who really manages or at least oversees some of the bigger relationships and the bigger deals in your company. Of course, it's mentoring your leaders and thinking about the culture of your business. You've heard me quote Peter Drucker, culture eats strategy for breakfast, which is exactly why culture needs to be a part of your strategy and not separate. Something that you should be thinking about probably more often than you do. And you're the one who's in charge of culture in your business. Yes, your leadership team reinforces the culture, but you're the one to make sure that your team is really focusing on the right things when it comes to culture and setting the tone.
The reviews are in, and leaders are calling Rob Levin's new book a game changer. The New Talent Playbook, the ultimate guide to building your dream team, is now available, and it's your roadmap to winning the war for talent and scaling with total confidence. Don't just take our word for it. Order your copy today and see why it's a must-read for every SMB leader. Find it on Amazon.com or learn more at thenewtalentplaybook.com.
So I want to give you another way to think about what I spoke about just a couple minutes ago when it comes to these things that come up that soak up our time. And before you know it, the week is over and you didn't get around to strategy. So those things are usually administrative related. There's firefighting. You do them, but they're gone. They do not compound, right? And then, of course, tomorrow there's more of these things that come up. Strategy and culture being a subset of your spending time on thinking about your culture is a subset of strategy. These things don't only pay you back in the week or the month, these things can pay you back for years. So a small slice of your time is something that will generate a return that keeps paying interest, if you will. So the next question I usually get as I'm speaking with usually friends and other business owners about these things is, all right, Rob, how do I find the time? I'm going to give you a few things to think about. Some of these things you've heard from me before. There's one or two of these things you may not have heard. So by far, the fastest lever is to get an assistant. The assistant who's going to check your email, do all of those things that are not on your unique ability, scheduling your calendar, keeping track of projects. And I'm just going to give you a simple mathematical way to think about it. Let's say that your total compensation, this is both salary and distributions you're taking out of your business. Let's put that at $400,000 a year, right? So at $400,000 a year, your time is worth about $200 an hour, right? Let's take 2,000 hours and just the rough math, you're at about $200 an hour. Now, if you earn more than that or less than that, you can do the math. Just take the annual comp that you're looking to get, not what you currently have, but that you want to get, and divide that by 2,000 hours just to keep the math simple. Yet, a lot of people, a lot of business owners, many that I speak with that are making plenty of money, they're still spending their time on $25 to $35 an hour work, which is what an assistant costs. Go ahead, take that leap, get an assistant. There's plenty of other content. We will link to some content on more details on getting an assistant. But I'm going to also give you another lever to get some of your time back. A lot of your time is going back and forth, usually with leaders in your company. And what I have found from experience, and trust me, I've been guilty of this myself for so long in the past, is that you weren't clear on what success looks like on the things that they are doing, on their responsibilities. You can express this in quantifiable terms or in qualitative terms. Strategic Coach has a tool. I'm not sure if it's available online, but you can certainly look for it. It's called an impact filter, and it's a pretty quick tool to use that helps you explain exactly what you're looking for. What does good look like, what it's done? And there's some other things that when somebody picks this up, there's a lot of clarity. And you may have heard me quote Peter Guber. I was fortunate enough to take a couple of classes that he took when I was at business school at UCLA way back when. And Peter Guber, entrepreneur, Hollywood producer, et cetera, he introduced this term that I still use to this day, which is mutual mystification. And mutual mystification costs you a lot of time and money. You can get a lot of your time back by letting your team do their thing, by being more clear up front about what good looks like in the various things that they do. So when you think about the New Talent Playbook, what this podcast and the Substack and my book is all about, I want you to remember that you're a big part of that. And you putting your time and effort into strategy and putting those blocks in your calendar that you're not going to skip. You're not going to say, oh, another fire's coming out. I'll push this later. I'll push it off the next week. These are the non-negotiables. The time you spent in there in that strategy zone, sometimes with a pen and paper, sometimes you are going to be leveraging AI. Hopefully you are to think through these things. That time is going to compound for years. And there's nobody else in your company doing this. So hope this helps. We will link to the appropriate Substack posts and podcast episodes if you're looking to dig a little deeper on some of the things that I talked about. We will see you soon.
Thanks for listening. The New Talent Playbook podcast is brought to you by Work Better Now. Don't forget to review, subscribe, and download the workbook for this episode at the link below. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on LinkedIn at the New Talent Playbook Podcast or visit thenewtalentplaybookpodcast.com.